welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and thank you so much for listening, watching, subscribing, wherever you choose to consume this podcast. Or if this is your first time watching or listening, thank you so much for discovering, and please give me a follow on Instagram, GizFanPod, and if you want to send suggestions for the podcast, or if you would like to request to be on it yourself, you can send me an email at gizfanpod@gmail.com. So that's basically the thing. That's how we get this thing started. Thank you so much for consuming this. I appreciate it. It's a fun, passion project for me, and it sounds like I'll keep it going for at least another year and a half, because the Red Rocks and Berkeley shows, the entire North American tour has been officially rescheduled for October 2021. That's not a short time away by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not never. So at least there's that. At least we know for sure, hey, it's not going to be this year. So plan accordingly, obviously if you sadly can't go, please do, ask for a refund on those tickets so that somebody who missed out on tickets, who does want to go, can. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for people who might have missed the boat the first go round, to get tickets. And, I remember I want to say it was the, fifth or maybe sixth episode of this podcast with Genesis. She's from Chicago, didn't have tickets yet for the for any of the marathon shows, but I was just like, hey, take a chance. Like, somebody will be reselling the tickets, and that somebody might be Ticketmaster. If whoever wants a refund on their tickets will can get it, and then those tickets can get freed up for people who who would like to go. So yeah, do that. Buy tickets, go, and if you can't go, then give up your tickets, make them available. All right, that's me getting off my soapbox now. In Gizzhead, when they announced that they're going to be, when they announced that they're rescheduling their tour, that they would also probably have another couple, maybe 3 albums, whenever, by that time. So that's fun. That's a lot. I mean, I know we've done a whole bunch of speculating on this podcast, about what's next for Giz, and, what else people want to see from them. And honestly, I think we need to stop having expectations, because that's never gonna, it just never works out. Expectations don't work out. You got to live in the moment. Like my coffee cup says, and I don't have it with me here, but typically when I do this podcast, I'm drinking from it. And you got to live in the moment. You got to, I guess, not have expectations. Just know how to be in the present. Ground yourself. You'll find that life is way more enjoyable. You get way more appreciative of all the little things. Anything from like just the fact that you took another breath without difficulty, or that you got 28 subscribers on YouTube. Like it's not much, but it makes me feel good that 28 people feel that strongly about this podcast that they're willing to subscribe. That's really cool to me. So yeah, gratitude is great. Exercise it as much as you can, because while people in Portland are getting abducted by who knows who they are, but some kind of federal troops. It's bizarre. It's weird. Be thankful for the rights that you do have, and use those rights to, I don't know, to fight for other rights that you believe that you should. So yeah, you got to be in the present, in the moment. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. We're going to get this podcast underway. Let me give you an intro to our guest today. His name's Slade. He's from Massachusetts, and he's I think the newest Gizzhead that we've had on this podcast. I mean, like he just got into them. I forget when he said it was either just after quarantine began or just prior to it. Either way, really recent, the most recent, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun talking with this guy. He plays in a band called Poppin' Big, and he gives the whole backstory to that, how they got that name, and yeah, really cool dude. You know, teenager, guy's 19, but seems to be like trying to figure shit out, and I think that's admirable. I think that's cool. It like if it's been kind of a if you haven't noticed, it's been kind of a common theme or a pretty consistent theme on this podcast that I talk about. You know, going through my 20s and stuff, and you know, changing who I am as a person. Like I didn't start really doing that until like consciously until I was about 27. And I really wish that I had learned to change myself long before then. You know, so to see this guy Slade going at it, you know, getting after it at 19, like that's fucking cool, you know? And all you got to do is just find something that you love and pursue that. Fucking go for it, because you're going to find people along the way that'll be into the same shit, and you fuck with each other, and it's like that's how you create great friendships and relationships, whether it's professional or personal or creative or what have you. Approach everything with with the eyes of love. Like that's just what you got to do, and shit will work out. So that's the motivation. That's motivational talk out of the way, and yeah, you guys are gonna love this conversation with Slade. Here he is. Here we go. So yeah, Slade, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, honestly, for having me. I heard the first episode, and I was just like, holy crap, this is awesome. I got to talk about this. So I really appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's cool. So, like, at this point, I haven't done a podcast. I haven't recorded a podcast in about a week and a half, just in light of all the protests going on.
Yeah, understandable.
Like, oh, my God, it's crazy. And, like, this is going to be released way in the future. So, it'll be interesting whenever August, whenever this is coming out, to see, like, how shit will have evolved, you know, by then, and what we'll be thinking then of June. So I don't know, it's pretty wild. But yeah, thanks for you know, being my first podcast guest upon my return, I guess.
Yeah.
Very inside, but yeah, man. So you're based in Massachusetts?
Yes, southeastern Massachusetts. For any viewers who are familiar with the area, I'm about 10 minutes away from Fall River, and about half an hour away from Providence, Rhode Island.
Ah, cool. So you're like way out there on the shore.
Oh yeah. I'm like, so the nearest major beach that's like on an ocean is Horseneck Beach, and that's about like a half hour away from where I live.
Oh, cool.
And I have like a beach that's like located within a bay, about 5 minutes walk from my house. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, God, you guys must get a lot of clams. That's
a lot.
Yeah. Oh man, that sounds terrific, delicious.
The seafood over here is wonderful.
Yeah, I grew up near Seattle, so it's like I was raised on, you know, like top-notch seafood. Granted, more it's like you guys got the shellfish. I don't know. It's different. Like you guys are better with the shellfish because you have lobster, but
yeah,
like in Washington we have Dungeness crab and Alaskan king crab and you know, king salmon and stuff. So it evens out, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So what was your foray into King Giz?
All right. So this is like my favorite King Giz story that I have so far. I've only been listening to them for like a couple months. I got into them right before quarantine happened.
Oh shit.
And, oh yeah. But like I first heard about them before I even attended college. I just finished my sophomore year of college. And it's kind of crazy to think that I'm like theoretically halfway through. I say theoretically, but no, I heard about them in the summer of 2018, and my mom worked at a basically at a local restaurant chain, which has since closed down due to quarantine. But she was talking to one of her customers about me and my music taste, and she sent me a Snapchat, and it said, on the little piece of paper, it said King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and she says, check out this band. And I screenshotted it, intending to like actually check them out. I never did. My consistency when someone tells me to check something out never happens.
Yeah.
Fast forward to like last semester. My good friend David, who I guarantee you he will listen to this. He loves King Gizzard. He was wearing one of their shirts or something, and I was like, who is King Gizzard? Like, I know you dig them, but like, who are they? And they're like, okay, so they have 2 drummers, there's 7 members, all of their albums are connected in one multiverse, and there's 2 drummers. And I'm like, whoa. So I immediately started at the very beginning of their discography, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And as I progressed through each album, I was like, okay, so they have a different sound for each album. They released a rock opera. Like, this is my jam.
Yeah. I mean, it's so wild. I mean, God, that's a hell of a story. That's one of the better ones that I've heard. I wonder if those people who left the note are either in the Facebook fan page or listen to this podcast otherwise.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a super cool thing that happened. But yeah, man, hang on, I'm just fixing something with my mic. Seemed to be a little loud. Okay, cool. There we are. Yeah, so I mean, like that was just such a crazy story. And the craziest thing to me is like starting with the very first album and then going all the way through. Like it took me over a year to really give 12 Bar like an honest listen. So that's super cool that you started with that and just like went into it with a totally open mind.
Yeah. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, I still haven't finished their discography at this point because I really like to spend a lot of time with each album.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, no, you're doing it right.
I haven't listened to Gumboot Soup, Fishing for Fishies, or Infest the Rat's Nest yet. I'm still spending a lot of time with Sketches in Polly because I'm really, really digging the jazz in Sketches and the funk in Polly. And it's just like, actually, hold on one second. I just realized I had something. So mid-March, around mid-March was National Mini Disc Day. Mm-hmm. So I ordered a limited edition mini disc of Polly.
That's fucking insane. There's
50 copies.
I mean, I can't imagine there are more than 50 people in the world that celebrate that holiday. That's I've never heard of that. That's incredible.
I don't have a mini disc player yet.
Yeah.
But I have Polly on mini disc, and I'm just so proud to own this.
Yeah, no, that's fucking badass. Like I totally forgot that mini disc players even existed. Like I remember my best friend had one for about 2 months in high school before the discs like all broke and the whole thing was obsolete. Yeah, like he went with a mini disc player while everybody else went with iPods or like off-brand MP3 players. Like that was my jam personally. Like I used to have this Toshiba, like I think it was like an 80 gig or 60 gig like version of an iPod, but it was Toshiba and it was such a piece of shit. Like it stopped working like maybe a month after the warranty expired. 1 year. So yeah, it was that was kind of a bummer, but anyway, iPods were way better, and I was contrary.
It's okay.
But,
I spent a good portion of my college career listening to music on exclusively cassette Walkmans, so you're all good.
oh yeah, that's ultra contrarian.
Keep in mind, for the viewers, I'm 19. This is all way before my time.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, that's okay. You bring up an interesting point, because like as somebody who's Gen Z, that's like it must be pretty wild, like growing up totally in a digital age, and then like you're going back to like discover shit that like I just grew up with and was normal, and all of a sudden I grow up and then it's all just like the 90s were fucking weird, huh?
Actually,
pretty
it's funny that
pretty clunky era.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because like I was always a bit of a social outcast in middle school and high school, and even to a degree college, although I've found more people who share my niches, because I discovered my dad's record collection when I was 14, and it was in the basement. We didn't have a record player. I just saw his stash of Beatles records, and I was going through a hardcore Beatles phase at the time, and I was like, I got to get a record player. So for my 15th birthday, I asked for a record player, and I got my record player, and I just instantly just went on a day-long marathon. My entire birthday was just record after record after record.
Shit.
My first LP was the Beach Boys' Summer Days and Summer Nights, released in 1965, which had California Girls and Help Me Rhonda on it. My first 45 was the Monkees. And I was just stuck in the 60s for a long time, right?
I mean, that's too bad it's the Monkees, but I'm just fucking around. But like, I mean, you can't be a music fan and not shit on Davy Jones, you know?
Oh, of course. I love the guy, but you know.
Yeah. Exactly. That's pretty much the like every music fan's mantra. Like. I mean, I'm sure there are the people who like I'll never understand them. There are the people that prefer Herman's Hermits over the Beatles, but you know, they existed at one point. Hopefully, they've passed on from heart disease by now. But but it's so funny you mentioned all this, because like that's very similar to how I got started in music consumption. Like when I was a kid, like I grew up luckily with a record player in the house and my parents' record collection, and they owned most of the Beatles albums. The only ones we were missing were like, basically we only had the American versions. So
that was going to be my question. Yeah.
So it was all Capitol Records. I never got the Beatles' second album, but
that was one of the few that we had.
Yeah, the Beatles' second album was my favorite. Like when I was a kid listening to the Beatles. Now, obviously, I'm like torn between Sgt. Pepper's and Revolver. But I'm
on a Revolver kick right now, personally.
Yeah, I've always preferred like Revolver, Rubber Soul, and Sgt. Pepper's were my three favorite Beatles albums.
All right,
like I would just go through a rotation of those.
I have an unpopular opinion.
Okay, let's hear the hot take.
Hot take. The American Rubber Soul is better than the British Rubber Soul.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree.
Oh my God.
I grew up like, probably because I only owned the American records, I grew up with an aversion to the British. Like I felt that Parlophone was somehow inferior to Capitol. I mean, God, I was such a nationalist child, but
no, see, I grew up with the British version of Rubber Soul. But I just feel like Drive My Car does not belong.
It has
on the
no
record.
place on that album.
It's a great song. I enjoy Drive My Car as a song. It does not belong on Rubber Soul.
No, it belongs on a greatest hits album, which is fortunately where it exists as well.
Yeah. The only song that wasn't on the American version that I feel like should have been on the American version was Nowhere Man.
Yep, 100%.
And that is the only fault of the American Rubber Soul, rather.
Yeah, God, Nowhere Man was such a. I mean, like that song hit me on such a deep level the first time I heard it. Like watching Yellow Submarine, because it's also like a really fucking heartbreaking moment in the film. and I'm just like, oh, this fucking guy, he's fucking wallowing and just going in a downward spiral, and the Beatles are just like walking rainbows right next to him, just like, look at this fucker, he's nowhere, but we're going somewhere. Like, fuck you guys, this guy's gotta kill himself. Come on.
It warms my heart that I'm not the only one who remembers this film.
Oh, dude, like, yeah, and anybody watching or listening, Yellow Submarine is one of the best pieces of animated filmmaking. I mean, it's such an incredible soundtrack. The classical score is written by George Martin.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it like that was like between the solo of In My Life and the entire score for Yellow Submarine. I don't know which is George Martin's better work, but probably Yellow Submarine, just because it was like plentiful and totally engaging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that album and the movie are just so underrated.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like It's All Too Much is easily my favorite George song. And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like late Beatles are really underrated just because like they never toured it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Giz. So,
yes, I apologize for the divergence.
No, fuck that. This podcast is full of diversions. If you've only listened to the first episode, yeah, there's we've got this podcast has been so much fun for me to do over the last like month and a half. Just because I've been able to talk with so many different people and just like go on all these different tangents, which is great because like it's pretty much just an ever expanding, extension of the Gizverse, right? So it's like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like everything belongs,
Oh, totally.
Well, yeah, man. So right now well, yeah. Another thing you mentioned. So Paul, you described Pauly Gondwanaland as being sort of funky.
Yeah.
Like it's funny that you mentioned that because the first time I ever heard Crumbling Castle, like I thought that, okay, this is a funk album. And then quickly everything's just like not funky. It's just like Paul. I mean, like I wouldn't really describe it as like, funk. Like it's not a Lenny Kravitz album.
No.
But I mean, Lenny Kravitz covering Giz might be kind of great.
I would actually like to see that.
Yeah. I mean, shit, they could just tour with him, like have Lucas go on full-time dad duty, and just have Lenny Kravitz as the new bassist for Giz. But yeah, man, like so what were the so like how long did you focus on like Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, Mind Fuzz, like the earlier stuff? Like how long have you been focused on Pauly and sketches?
So it's weird because when I started, I was just like when I first started, I had no idea like the scope of each record. So my initial plan was to listen to each album once or twice, then move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. And I realized very quickly I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I think when I hit Nonagon Infinity, that's when I realized that like I need to sit with each album individually for an extended period of time. And I swear I listened to only Nonagon Infinity and no other Gizzard album for at least a month. I listened to Nonagon Infinity for a month.
Yeah.
I revisited Float Along, Fill Your Lungs very recently, actually, just before my most recent acid trip. And
nice.
Thank you. I actually listened to Head on Pill while tripping. That was interesting, especially when you consider like how time just distorts. Like I watched the Robot Stop music video while on acid once, and I was like 3 minutes into the video and I was like, it feels like it's been 10 minutes. So I was wondering how long Float Along, Fill Your Lungs would feel, and it just felt endless and vast, but it was so beautiful at the same time. So I spent a really, really long time looking back retrospectively on Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, just due to how viscerally psychedelic it was. And like that sitar, the chunky riffs of the guitar is exactly what I love in some like your standard psychedelic album. And it's just like, looking back, it's definitely ranked in my top 5 Giz albums.
Oh, for sure. There's so many good songs in there, and I was actually just listening back to to an older episode, and I was talking about how like pretty much every song on that album, other than "I'm Not a Man Unless I Have a Woman," is just a great song, and like. And the one that is the exclusion, and yeah, I'm aware the podcast is named after it, but it's but like
I enjoy it.
Exactly, it's a parody. Like it's a parody of that kind of sound. Because it's just like, I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense to me. And yeah. Anyway, yeah, I absolutely love that album. I wish they would play more tracks off of it instead of just the 3 that they do currently. But yeah. So
now,
well, actually,
I was gonna ask. I've never had the opportunity to see King Gizzard live.
Yeah.
What songs off of
so
how long do they usually play?
They so they usually don't play any of it, which is a bummer. But
that is a disgrace.
But on this last tour, they started playing "Let Me Mend the Past."
Okay, all right.
And then and also they started closing shows with "Float Along, Fill Your Lungs," and also "Head on Pill," or like you'll get either or. So like they pretty much consistently had closing songs that were either off of "Infest the Rat's Nest" or they would go with the classic like "Am I in Heaven," "Head on Pill," or "Float Along, Fill Your Lungs." So it was just like but yeah, I mean, like I'm sure have you watched videos on YouTube?
I've seen a couple videos. I have Chunky Shrapnel downloaded to my computer of questionable legality. I even though I'm an essential worker, I was out of work for 5 weeks. Just during like the peak of COVID-19 to make sure that I personally didn't get infected and spread it to my family. And I was broke for a while, so the questionable legality is just because I have no money.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, like it felt a little bit predatory for them to release such a masterpiece, only available for 48 hours streaming. So like I bought it because luckily I at the time had consistent work, and yeah, I mean, like it was cool. I watched it 4 times in that 48-hour period just so I could really take it in. But it was, I mean, it was just incredible.
I haven't had the chance to sit down and watch it yet because as I mentioned, I'm a college student. When it came out, I had my spring semester online. I'm currently taking summer courses online. I'm very, very busy right now. I'm also in a band. So I'm currently working with that. Yeah.
Nice.
So I have a lot of things going on right now. And honestly, the fact that I was able to fit in this recording is really a miracle, because like immediately after this I'm going to have a socially distant date with my girlfriend.
Nice.
So I'm all over the place.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do hope to be able to sit down and watch it on my laptop on a nice rainy afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, you're in for a treat. It's incredible. But as far as like just regular like live videos and stuff, you definitely want to check out the KEXP.
I've seen some of the KEXP stuff. They're so good. And like you would think that like with their live performances, even if they're just like filmed, you would think that one of the instruments would get drowned out, or maybe it would be like gargled or blurry, or that it wouldn't be cohesive, but it is.
Yeah. Well, so like with the film, they they just went straight from the board into into like a recording thing. So it was pretty seamless. But yeah, I mean, like something else that was cool in the film was that they went over like the pre-show routine or like I guess yeah, I guess routine you could call it,
Yeah.
of their sound guy, since like he has a whole bunch of presets and everything on the board. So
Mm-hmm.
like you see all the stuff, like all the what do you call them, the sliders, all the sliders are like, you know, shifting automatically depending on
Yeah.
what's selected. So yeah, it's like but yeah, so also with the KEXP videos, Stu actually does all the mixing and everything.
Oh, that's
um
awesome.
so he's yeah, like it's I keep forgetting that like you're such a new fan, so you
Yeah,
might
only
not
been
know all
listening for
these.
like several months.
Yeah, I mean, so you might not know all these you know, little things. Are you familiar with any of their side projects?
A couple. I've listened to a couple Pipe Eye and Murloc's tracks.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, but
Like I found it on their Flightless website
mhm.
about a month ago, and I was like, there's side projects. Oh boy,
Yeah,
I'm in for a treat.
yeah, and the Murlocs have like 5 albums or something,
That's
which is,
insane.
yeah, it's nuts. Like I think that's how many Pond has, and they're another good band, not Giz related, but they're good. And
Hmm.
I mean, like are you familiar with Pond at all?
No, actually, I've never heard of them.
Oh, check them out. They're a great acid band. Yeah, it's
Noted.
yeah. Like if you ever let Spotify just run amok on King Gizzard radio, a few different songs from Pond will come up.
Nice.
I just started listening to them more at length today, and
Nice, nice.
yeah, I'm getting into them a little bit, but they definitely don't have as much, you know, like they don't captivate me nearly to the degree that Giz does. Um,
Right.
like there were a couple songs I felt that were like really, you know, that really got me, but the rest were just kind of like, all right, like this would be fun to see at a festival on acid, but
Yeah.
but you know, I might just need more time to get into it as well.
Fair.
But yeah, you know, I think Pipe Eye is my favorite side project though.
All
Um,
right.
just because like Cook is he's such an interesting guy. Like
Yeah.
just every song that he's written, like either if it's for Giz or for Pipe Eye, like there's just something that's really fascinating about his writing style, uh,
Yeah.
and musicianship. And I can't, like I describe him as being sort of like a Seinfeld, uh, like kind of mind,
All
just
right.
because all of his stuff is so observational, but he's choosing to write a song about it and like make it seem way more interesting than it probably is. Um, but I just love that because it's like that's just so funny to me. Just having that kind of humility in your own musicianship.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so tell me about your band.
Okay, so this is like one of my favorite stories that I get to tell people, and I'm so glad that the world gets to hear this.
Fuck yeah.
So, a little over a year ago, back in February, my friend David, my same David I mentioned
Yep.
before, the Giz fan, my friend David, his ex-girlfriend now, his girlfriend at the time, and the ex-girlfriend's best friend, and I were all in a fake band called Red Lobster Cult.
That's, oh god, that's really fucking good.
It gets better.
That's great. Okay.
So at around this time was when I started getting into like the 90s nostalgia that I currently sort of embody, and I
Yeah.
ordered a bunch of used floppy disks off of eBay and a floppy disk reader. Shit you not. And it was just a lot of 16 random floppy disks, and there was an issue with the shipping with the floppy disk reader, and I ended up getting two, and I was like, what do I do? And David was like, hi. And I was like, David, have one. And he's like, okay. And we opened my floppies, and one of my friends was like, ooh, I wonder if there's porn. And no porn. It was like Doom 2 parts 1 and 2, a college course syllabus, and a bunch of boot discs, like
Yep.
software boot discs, right? I think I wound up putting the Oregon Trail on one of them.
Oh, sick.
And And my friend David came up to me. He's like, so where did you order those floppy disks? Like, I want some. And I was like, here's the link. Go buy some. And so he orders them, and they come in, and we're all texting over the Red Lobster Cult group chat, and he looks at the first image file on the first floppy disk, and the first image file is called cock1.jpg, and he says, no, there's no way, no, that's going to be a chicken. But it wasn't a chicken.
Nice.
No, and we find out after going through, like, I think he went through all 16 floppy disks. 6 out of 16 of them all just had gay porn on it. just gay porn with, like, the occasional normal picture, like, amidst the cocks there was, like, a picture of a guy cuddling his dog, and then there was, like, you know, right next to a picture of this guy spreading cheeks was, like, this picture of a guy in a suit, and we're like, the fuck. And there was a video file that wouldn't play. There was a video file that wouldn't play, but it was called Poppin' Big, and like the preview image showed he was popping big. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And David was like, wait a minute. Poppin' Big would make a good band name. And we're all like, wait, no, it would. And now, like, fast forward a year, David and his ex broke up, obviously. We don't talk to the ex's best friend anymore. It's me, David, and actually a guitarist that I met on Tinder. Just the 3 of us in a band together called Poppin' Big, of which I am the primary lyricist and vocalist.
Nice.
Our first release will be an EP called Gay Porn on a Floppy Diskette, and our first album is going to be called Dicks on Discs.
Nice. Oh man, I mean, there's nothing better than a dick joke. I used to work corporate. Like before I looked like this, I looked like Rachel Maddow, and I worked a corporate job.
Oh, we love that.
And so at my corporate gigs, like, we used to have a thing over company email called Dick of the Day. And what Dick of the Day was we, like, every day, somebody in the little clique would send something that looked like a dick. Couldn't be an actual dick, but it just had to be something that looked like a dick, and then we'd send it to each other. And and, like, there was never in the email subject line or anything, it was never Dick of the Day. It was just #DOD. And so, like, finally that had to end because somebody broke the rule of no actual dicks.
Oh no.
And so we had to take it off company email and, go to Instagram DMs. But I sent this picture to the group like a month ago, because, like, I still talk with all these guys, even though this began like in 2014. Like, I sent a picture just of something I saw on Instagram. I sent it to the guys. It's this account that's on Instagram called Pets with Human Dicks. So it's just a guy who draws, like, really realistic looking cocks on these small mammals. It's really good. And so I sent it to the group, and everybody's just like, it's over, this wins. We're never. And now it's disbanded. I ended it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Props to you, my guy.
I didn't want to do it. I thought it was amusing. I didn't think it was, like, mind blowing.
Oh my God, I love that. I love everything about that.
Yeah. Oh, but back to the floppy disks.
Yes.
So the thing with floppy disks. When you said it was just full of porn, I was about to call you on your bullshit, because floppy disks are not capable of playing video files. So that's why the video file did not play. But they can store JPEGs.
It stored JPEGs, and there was one audio file. There was one.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't an audio recording of sex. It was an audio recording of presumably the owner of the floppies recording a message to Petey, and it sounded something to the I'm not even going to try to imitate the voice. Despite being very, very gay, I don't want to make a stereotypical gay voice. But
I mean, you're permitted, but I respect your decision either way.
The message said something to the effect of, "Hi, Petey, I love you, I miss you, I want to spank your butt and call you a little whore." And I'm like, well, there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a pretty typical gay conversation.
I still have it, the audio on my laptop somewhere, actually.
I mean, it's, you know, I think everybody is entitled to own some creepy audio files. Like, you know, it's good to just have like a little unsettling library of shit, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm like totally obsessed with cults. Like, I have a stash of, like,
welcome to King Gizzard
stuff.
and the Lizard Wizard. Welcome to Giz fandom. Yeah.
Like, I have a bunch of, like, Heaven's Gate and Jonestown stuff. I have a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, man. I watched that documentary on PBS about the Jonestown massacre and everything.
Oh, yeah, like, I remember that.
Good God, that was, like, that shook me. I had to swear off of cult documentaries after that point.
I'm gonna put in my 2 cents before we move away from the cult conversation, just because of like how much of a rabbit hole cults can be. There's a great podcast. It's called The Last Podcast on the Left.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Okay, awesome. For anyone who isn't familiar with them, go check them out. They have a lot of great, you know, cult related episodes. I'm currently listening to their series on Mormonism, actually.
Oh yeah, I bet that's good.
It's really good, especially considering I was almost indoctrinated into the cult of Mormonism. So it's crazy.
Lucky you. You dodged a pretty big bullet.
Now I'm pagan.
That works. It's been around for longer, right? But Last Podcast on the Left is like I've only listened to a few episodes, but the first time I ever saw it was or heard it was when they played a festival that I went to.
Really?
In Seattle. Yeah, they played the Bumbershoot Festival. So they just had like a live podcast episode where they just went. Oh god, it was the coolest thing. Like they just had a whole PowerPoint of like all these different serial killers and I forget exactly what the jokes were, but they were amazing. I was on acid, and I was just. You. Oh my god, it was incredible. Like they were just because like even though I was tripping, like I still was understanding all of the jokes. And I mean, I thought, and it was just such a weird, funny experience. I was just like, serial killers are hilarious. Like this is great. So Last Podcast on the Left, definitely something to check out. So back to Giz.
Yes,
I'm curious. No, it's okay. But I'm curious to find out. You know, since it was very recent that they added Eyes Like the Sky to Apple Music.
Yes,
and Spotify. So how did you come upon Eyes Like the Sky for the first time?
So I haven't listened to Eyes Like the Sky yet.
Okay.
I haven't had the opportunity.
So you're not really going in chronological order.
I didn't mean to. When I started listening to King Gizzard, Eyes Like the Sky, and Quarters, I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of their existence. I was under the impression that Float Along, Fill Your Lungs was their second album. And even today, I will still mistakenly call Float Along, Fill Your Lungs their second album. I've listened. I have retroactively listened to Quarters a couple times. Definitely similar to Sketches. I really dig the jazzy vibe.
Yeah.
I'm a big Traffic fan, so like I'm all about jazz. Love it. So I retroactively listened to Quarters. I really dug it. And I still need to listen to Eyes Like the Sky, but I have heard a couple excerpts. And it does sound really, really good. I'm genuinely intrigued.
Yeah, it's one of the albums that I own on vinyl. Ooh,
nice.
I mean, it's just fantastic. Like it's got some really good surf twang. That
nice.
Even though it's so weird. Like surf music is like it works for spaghetti westerns, which is what Eyes Like the Sky is.
Like I have a
And
couple of the early Beach Boys records, and like I can totally see like a mashup like cover
yeah,
of like, you know, some of the instrumental Beach Boys tracks, and like uh Eyes Like the Sky. Like I can totally picture that.
totally. I mean, there's yeah, I don't know what it is. I guess maybe it's just because like when you're at the ocean, you feel really free, and same thing when you're in the
Yeah.
middle of the desert. Um, like it's just because like you just are looking into this abyss, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so like I live in the desert in Southern California,
Oh,
and
bless your heart.
it's the fucking best. And um, yeah, like so the music that I'm listening to out here is like a lot of a lot of Krungbin, and
Mm,
if you haven't gotten into them, you really should.
I'll check it
they're
out.
yeah, they're absolutely incredible. But they're based in Houston, which is more of a like it's closer to the beach than it is to the like middle of nowhere. Um,
Yeah.
and but it's cool that they're able to like sort of have these like beachy yet desert vibes. um yeah, so anyway, that's I don't know where that's going, but I think that's where it ends. So um yeah, so you mentioned you went to the you went on the Flightless site.
Yes.
Have you gotten to check out any of the other Flightless bands? Like because what I'm a little curious, like what kind of music were you listening to before you got into Giz?
So before I even discovered Giz, I think just before I started listening to Giz, I was really on a heavy Doors kick.
Oh yeah.
Um, like An American Prayer, Jim Morrison's poetry album,
Hmm.
is why I love Murder of the Universe so much.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if you've heard it, but Jim Morrison, the Doors released An American Prayer, Jim Morrison's poetry album, posthumously, after Morrison
Yeah.
died, and it's one of my favorite Doors records, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And the spoken word poetry was just like so intriguing, and I'd never heard anything like it, and I was like, there's nothing that can like match Jim Morrison's spoken word verse here. And then I heard Murder of the Universe, and I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, Jim Morrison narrating Murder of the Universe would be
I'd
incredible as
love
well.
that.
But but yeah, like I actually own a couple bootlegs of Doors
Ooh.
concerts. And he would just go into like spoken word interludes,
Yeah.
like in songs. It's just it was such a cool thing. And like I'm familiar with the album American Prayer,
Yeah.
but I've never listened to it. I just know that it exists, and I didn't know what it was.
Definitely give it a listen.
Will do. Um,
Um,
but
and sorry,
you, you,
I was gonna say, other than American Prayer, I really dig. Contrary to a lot of other Doors fans' opinions, I'm a huge fan of the Soft Parade.
yeah, I am actually not really familiar with the Soft Parade. I didn't go through. I went through a really weird Doors phase. Like I think I only took in maybe half of their discography,
Okay.
max. Because like Morrison Hotel is my favorite album by them,
Morrison Hotel's a solid
and
record.
I can't stop listening to it when when I'm in a Doors mood. Um,
Okay. All right. That's honestly me with Strange Days. Like I
oh
listened
really?
to I listened so when I was a senior in high school, during gym classes, they would let us like listen to music while we did whatever.
Yeah.
And I listened to the Doors debut album on
Mhm.
repeat. I think I listened to the Doors debut record like 20 times in the second half of my senior year. And then I started listening to Strange Days, and I was like, okay, I can kind of dig this, but like I always like end up putting People Are Strange on repeat because like that's a song from my childhood.
Mhm.
And then like when I finally got it on vinyl, I was able to finally, lay down the needle and sit down and like really take it in. And I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Strange Days is another album of theirs that I haven't listened to all the way through.
Okay.
Like more than once. I think I listened to it all the way through on my last acid trip a few weeks ago. Um,
Actually,
but
it's funny that you mentioned that because I tried to listen to it on my most recent acid trip, but like I felt myself going into like bad trip territory. So
oh,
instead, I had just listened. I had just finished listening to Dark Side of the Moon, I believe,
mhm.
and I was like, I want to listen to some Doors. So I put on Strange Days, and I listened to the first half. But then when I got to People Are Strange, that's when I was like, I felt uneasy and very on edge, and I was like, I don't like this. I feel like I'm heading
Yeah,
towards a bad place. So I went to Revolver, and instead of it was the British version of Revolver,
yeah.
so there were no missing tracks. And the weirdest part was that instead of starting at the very beginning of Revolver, I skipped the first like 2 or 3 tracks and started with "I'm Only Sleeping,"
Oh, nice.
and then
That's a good call.
I listened I'm Only Sleeping all the way to the end of Revolver, and I tell you, that is one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had.
Yeah,
Like, Revolver was designed to be listened to while on acid.
yeah, 100%. I mean, shit, just the album artwork is
Oh, it's so trippy.
yeah,
Klaus Vorman, his design for that album was phenomenal. I
yeah.
love it. It's great.
My yeah, we have some family friends who own like an original drawing or painting, whatever it
Ooh,
is of his. It's like yeah, they're
that's
fucking
awesome.
loaded, but um, but yeah, something else that you might find interesting if you're into acid and King Giz and listen to music on acid, and getting inside Stu's head is what was it? Yeah. So I listened to Hawkwind on acid.
Okay.
Have you ever are you
I
familiar
have
with
not.
Hawkwind?
I have not.
So Hawkwind is like they're the first space rock album or space rock band. Um,
Okay.
and like they're still around making new music. Like they released an acoustic album last year. And
Nice.
but yeah, they're pretty much Stu's inspiration for like Nodding on Infinity.
Right.
Um, and like sometimes when they play Robot Stop live, Stu will borrow some lyrics from Hawkwind, like leading into it.
Oh,
Um,
we love that.
and it's such a cool thing. Also, it was Lemmy's first band. Like before he started Motorhead, like he was playing bass in
Yeah.
Hawkwind. So just imagine fucking Lemmy playing acid, psych, space rock, just with the same technique as like Motorhead bass riffs. Like
That's crazy.
so listening to that on acid, I was able to like I felt like okay, yeah, clearly this is like listening to what it was their first album in 1971, in Search of Space. Just listen to that on acid, I was just like, okay, yeah, this is basically Nonagon Infinity that's unrefined.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they're another really good band to listen to if you're, interested in expanding beyond
yeah, I'll keep
beyond
it in
Giz
mind.
and
Um,
everything. But
Now I actually am wondering if you've heard of a certain band,
yeah,
because they're actually local to my area. But have you listened to They Might Be Giants?
oh yeah, I listened to them a little bit in like in middle school and stuff.
I actually had the wonderful opportunity to see them live in early February before shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
So it's actually funny how it happened. So for Christmas, my parents got me tickets to see them in Boston. Actually, just over a month ago, I was supposed to see them in Boston on May 1st.
Mhm.
Um, but fast forward to February 7th, my dad texted me while I was at work, and he said, "Hey, my friend was supposed to go see They Might Be Giants in Providence tonight. He's sick. He can't go. Do you and David want to go instead?" David is also a huge They Might Be Giants fan.
Mhm.
David and I share a lot of music. It's wonderful. And I was like, do I want to see They Might Be Giants live with my best friend, my only other friend who likes They Might Be Giants? Yes. So I texted David and I said, "Hey David, let me offer you something. Would you rather go to the game store in Warwick to play Friday Night Magic the Gathering, or would you rather go see They Might Be Giants live in concert with me? And he's like, wait, you have tickets? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, let's fucking go, my guy.
Yeah, dude.
Their voices haven't changed since like their albums in like the 90s.
Really?
They sound exactly the same.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
Their live performance was amazing. There was a lot of improvisation. And as an actor, I can tell you that improvisation is hard enough when you're not improvising music.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of trust involved.
Yeah, and the way they just went on these like improv jams, it was just so amazing, and it was so surreal. It was beautiful. It was actually their the 30th anniversary tour of their album Flood, of which I just realized it was right next to me. I was able to get a signed copy of their album Flood.
Oh, sick.
Signed by They Might Be Giants, and eventually, once they start touring again, I am slated to see them with my dad in 2021, and I'm just literally so excited to be able to see them again. But
yeah, for sure,
they were just it was a very intimate experience too. It was very intimate. It was a small venue.
Oh yeah,
in Providence. And
like how big?
Oh, like, have you ever been to Broadway?
I've never been to Providence. Or are you talking about like Broadway in New York?
Broadway.
Yeah.
Like, imagine like a small Broadway theater. Like most Broadway theaters are pretty small and you know, I can't think of the word. They're small and I literally said the word
intimate.
Intimate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm supposed to be good with words. I'm an English major. But I'm not always good with words. I apologize.
No, neither am I. We're very much in the same boat. It's the fucking bane of our existence, like looking for the exact right word and then being like, fuck, can't remember it. Too many drugs.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of Broadway theaters that are like small and intimate spaces, very similar to that. It's very similar to like the size of like most Broadway theaters. And it was open seating. So like we could just sit wherever we wanted.
That's cool.
And I looked over to David and I said, do you have any preference on if we sit on the aisle or if we sit in the middle? And he says, I don't care. So I shot right to the fourth row, in the middle of the fourth row.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and like the stage was like maybe 5 feet away, maybe 20 feet. It was hard to tell. It's vague in my memory. Concert I was sober for, surprisingly. But it was like the stage was so close, and they were right there, and it was just so amazing. And like they played like some really deep cuts that I was not expecting. Like my favorite song of theirs that was released in the past 10 years has to be The Communists Have the Music. And I wasn't expecting them to play it. I wasn't expecting them to play The Communists Have the Music, but they played it. And I was just like, holy shit. It's my anthem. It's the anthem of my people.
I mean, I have a feeling it was sort of out of timely circumstances that they that they decided to play that one. But that's super cool. I love when that happens. Yeah, like I've never seen them live, and like I've never really gotten into They Might Be Giants, but
that's fair.
But like I did see Chris Cornell play live. Yeah, I saw him do a solo show.
Nice.
It was just him and a cellist, and that was at the Beacon Theater in New York when I was living there. And God, it was just incredible. Like he did a few Soundgarden songs, did some songs off his final album.
Nice.
And then he brought out he did a bunch of Audio Slave, which was sick. And then also he brought out a few covers. Like he covered A Day in the Life. And that, like, if you get a chance to watch Chris Cornell on YouTube cover A Day in the Life, like he just does it so much justice. And like it moved me so much. Like it was once he played it, that's when I realized that that's my favorite Beatles song. It was just nuts. Like I didn't expect it at all or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I think we're gonna wrap up soon. But before I let you go, I just wanted to see if you had any last thoughts on just anything we haven't talked about yet that's Giz related.
Oh my God, I'm honestly just so. Oh, actually, there's actually another story that I wanted to tell. Actually,
Yeah. Let's go for it.
So my good friend Wiley, I used to work with him at my college's radio station, 90.7 WXIN. We work together at our college's radio station, and he owns a local record label. And I had just gotten into King Gizzard, and I was like, "Hey, man, are you a Giz fan? Like, do you dig them?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I love them." And I was like, "Dude, we should press copies of Polly on vinyl for ourselves." And he says, "Better yet, let's press copies of Polly on vinyl for a bunch of people and sell them on my record label."
Yeah.
And we set up a Kickstarter to make, I don't remember how many copies we were planning on making, but we were trying to raise $5,000. And
oh shit.
Unfortunately, we didn't even break $1,000.
Yeah.
It was so sad. It was such a sad moment because, oh man, I was like really, really hoping that I was going to finally master and produce my own copy of Polly. And it just kind of fell through after the 60 days, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be sick. I have no idea what goes into actually pressing a record.
I don't know too much about the logistics. I just know that it's very expensive, even if you do it locally.
Yeah. That's it's interesting stuff. Like I'm just getting back into vinyl, and
okay.
Like, so like it's occurring to me that I've never known really much about how it works, other than like, just understanding that the grooves are where the track begins and everything. But
yeah,
the just the logistics of it all, like it's so beyond me.
Yeah.
What were you thinking of doing for the artwork though?
We were going to use one of the like alternate covers that was provided in the file download.
Oh, cool. So they had alternate covers?
There were several alternate covers and alternate images. I'm actually going to see if I can find it right now. No, I don't see it right here immediately on my desktop. Oh, well.
Yeah.
But basically there were like various alternate looks at the alternate takes on the actual cover, different color schemes, and just like different album covers entirely, and different track lists. Well, not different track lists, but like different pictures that showed the track list. And It was just, we were going to use a variety of the the varying images, and we were going to actually press it on colored vinyl, and we were going to make it like a mystery colored vinyl sort of thing, where like you never know what color vinyl you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Didn't go through though, unfortunately. I posted about it on Reddit, and I got torn to shreds. And they're like, "Really? You think you can press Polly 2-3 years after it came out? Ha! Good luck."
I mean, I'm like, yeah, literally you can. It's a timeless album. It's I would think that people would want that to be the gift that keeps on giving. Like,
yeah.
I hope people continue to press Polly like well into
likewise
next decades.
Totally.
Anyway, Slade, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was really fun and insightful, and just all that
thanks
shit.
So much, man. I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, for sure, man. Take it easy. Stay safe.
Yeah, same to you, man.